Hi everyone, I wanted to show you how I made another card from the June release using the Dynamic Duo Fruitful Fun stamp, die set, and coordinating stencil, and I decided to make a shaker card with that. So let me show you how that was done. I am starting with a top folding A2 size card. I use 80-pound Nina cardstock to make my card bases. I'm also going to use a piece of the craft cardstock, which is the same size as the front of the card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then you need an extra piece of cardstock. I use the 110-pound Nina cardstock for this, and I cut it down 1/4 inch smaller so that we would get a little border of the craft cardstock showing. You're going to need concentric oval dies, and the best place to start with this project is by cutting the shaker windows. So I'm going to show you how to do that to get the frame inside the frame, the cardstock showing inside the shaker window. So taking our two panels of cardstock here, I'm going to start with the smaller white layer. And that one is going to have the bigger of the concentric ovals cut out of it. So right now I got to place that. I'm just eyeballing it so that it looks even around each side. I am going to use some of the purple tape on this because my magnetic cutting, what do you call that? The magnetic sheet that I cut on. It's a little wonky and warped, and I don't want that oval to move, so I'm going to tape it down. So first we're going to run that through the machine. And don't need the inside. Sometimes I save those insides when I cut out ovals and shapes, but right now I'm just going to toss that to the side. Now taking the craft cardstock, this is how you can line up the concentric ovals so that you can get them, you can get that frame for the window pretty even on the inside. So I just taped down the cardstock, the craft cardstock layer, and that way I can place the white panel that we cut with the big oval over it, place the smaller one inside the oval that we just cut. Get that nice and centered. And now I'm going to put my tape again. Notice that I'm putting the tape so it's the majority of the tape is on the inside piece of the oval that we don't need. That way it won't rip any of the cardstock that we'll be using. So now I can untape it from the cutting board and we can run that through the machine. Yeah, sometimes you can save the purple tape. That one, I think they were a little too used. I used those purple tape bits until there's like nothing left. And so now we've got that inside we don't need, and we've got our craft cardstock cut, and now we know that our ovals match up. So there's a nice frame for those. Let's do a dry fitting here. You can see we've got a good frame on the inside and the outside. That looks awesome. And of course, you can do that with any concentric shaped squares, rectangles, hearts, stars, but it's a good way to line things up. I'm going to start with the stencil. And there are so many fun shapes in this set, but I wanted to use the strawberries. I love strawberries, and it is strawberry season here where I live, so why not? The coordinating pieces for this set are, of course, the stamps and, of course, the dies. Another reason I chose the strawberry is because it is the smaller of all the fruit that you can cut out of this set. And as you could see from the finished card, that strawberry becomes part of the shaker element. So that's another reason why I chose it. It's small enough to put inside a shaker card. So you just want to get your blending brushes out. I got to wipe the cat fur off of mine every time I use them. So, you know, we don't want furry strawberries. And Starting with the inks, we're going to use the Raspberry Sunset and Blush Rose to do the strawberries. And for the little green tops, we've got the green opal and the mossy meadow. So not a lot of inks involved. This is very, very simple stenciling. I'm going to stick the white panel down on the sticky mat. The sticky mat is great because not only will it hold down the cardstock you are stenciling on, but it also will hold the stencil really well, so you don't have to tape it down and it won't shift on you. I do suggest using a mini or the micro blending brushes because there's a lot of shapes on that stencil and you don't want to accidentally get a pink banana next to your pink strawberry. Pink bananas we'll save for another card sometime. And I do like to get ink on my brush and then tap it off and get a good consistency on there. So I'm starting right at the top, and I'm going to do like little clusters like I did on the finished card. You can of course put your stencil, put your fruit anywhere you want and create any design with those. And what I did was just the first layer of the strawberry. And when I say the first layer, it's because I'm going to show you how to add some shadowing to those. Now, to make the ones that we cut out for the shaker elements, I just have a scrap piece of the 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to stencil 5 of those on there. Make sure you leave enough space to cut them out. And taking the darker pink, this is where I'm going to add the shadow. So I'm determining where I want shadow on my fruit. And it's going to be on the same side of every fruit. It's going to be on the left side and just the top underneath where the green bits go. So I'm adding very light stencil or blending to the top and to the left side of each strawberry. And I still do tap it off. The micro blending brushes are great for adding this shading to any stencil. I just love them for that. They're very light, very good coverage. Now going back to the main panel here, and I'm going to add the shadows onto those little strawberries. Because I want all my strawberries to have their shadows. Even the ones where you see I have some strawberries half off of the paper just to show some movement, and even those ones are getting shadowed. So now I'm going to do the same concept with the green bits. They're little green leaves. I'm going to start with the lighter green, and you can see I still have some on there from the last time I used this. But it's the same exact process as we did for the strawberries. Starting with the lighter green, I'm going to add, see how that stencil just sticks right to the mat? That is so cool. That is just amazing to me. So very light touch with the very light green to start adding the base of the leaves. And you want to do that, of course, to all of your strawberries that have their leaves showing. And we got to do that to the ones we're going to cut out, of course. I just thought it was nice to just do all one color on both sets of strawberries. Go back, do the second color on both sets of strawberries. So now we're going to add the dark green for the shadowing. And the shadowing is going to be the same way on the leaves as it was on the berry itself. I'm going to just put a little darker green just at the tips and on the left side of the leaves. And you can see how that just pops. I love it. So you want to do that to all your strawberries that we're going to cut out. And of course, to all the strawberries on the front panel of the card. You don't have to do the shadowing. And in fact, if you just wanted to use one color green and one color pink, all you would have to do is just double up. So where you are layering, for example, right now, the light green, where we laid the light green, the mossy meadow for the leaves, you can come back with another round of mossy meadow and layer up on top of the first layer, and it will still give you a dark shadow if you put it in the areas that you want shadow. I just like using the different greens. The greens in this, they're the colors in this release are so vibrant and fresh and fruity. So now this stamp set is great because it comes with all the little dots and details for each fruit. So I'm going to grab the strawberry one. And I'm going to show you how I multitasked. I'm also getting out the sentiment now just so I have it out. So we're going to multitask the stamping the details because the stamp for the strawberry details has the little seeds and it has some little veins for the leaves. So I'm bringing in the dark pink and green. And where the dots are for the seeds, I'm going to put the dark red on there, the dark pink. Then I'm going to take the dark green and tap that onto the veins for the leaves. That way you don't have to keep wiping off and you wouldn't have to like mask off or keep wiping off and reapplying different colors. And it works out just fine that you can get the green and the red details all in one shot. Just like that. Sometimes you can put like a piece of tape over one half, like over the leaf, the veins, while you go around stamping all of your all the seeds, and then vice versa. To get the veins for the leaves, you would cover over the seed. You can use a piece of tape, you can use a Post-it note, that type of thing. But if you want to speed up the process, I just inked up with both colors. And of course, we're going to do our ones for the shaker bits. And it's not even hard to do with the bigger ink pads like that. There's a good space between the leaf veins and the seeds so you can get in there. Just make sure you get them on all of your strawberries. And looking at the detailed stamps for the other fruits, the pear, the orange, the lemon, the banana, it would be pretty easy to do this for all the other ones as well if you wanted to do a 2-color stamping at once. And yes, I am putting my stamp away immediately because it is kind of a small stamp, and I have a tendency to make a huge mess and literally just throw things to the side. So I suggest doing that as you're done with the stamp. Now the sentiment is going onto the actual face of the card base. So I'm just setting it down right at the edge there of the sticky mat. So that tells me right there it's lined up straight. I'm going to take the craft cardstock, which is, remember, that has the smaller oval, and I'm going to lay that over the front so I know where to place my sentiment so that it's not going to get hidden or cut off with any of the layers. And if you know me, you know I rarely do black ink sentiments, so I am going back to the raspberry color to stamp the sentiment in that. I just like coordinating all my sentiments with my stamping on my projects. It's so vibrant. All right, we're getting close to construction here. So I got my strawberries that I'm going to cut out for the shaker bit. I've got the strawberry panel that we stenciled. Got all my pieces ready to go. And always make sure you cover your inks and put them far away, especially when you're doing a card with a white face panel. Oof. You know how easy it is to get fingerprints on a white face panel. I'm cutting off that extra bit there because that's extra cardstock that I can use for more crafting, and it makes it just fit better into the mini blossom. And I'm going to tape down my strawberry die. It's a very, very good die shape. It cuts out really evenly. Now, if you don't like the white edge that you get from die cutting before, or even after, I suppose, before you do the die cutting, you can take your stencil brushes in the colors that you used, and just literally with what's left on the brush, just do a light coating over the top of your element there that you're cutting out, and then that will soften the edges around that white die cut. The edge you get around the die cut that stays white. And sometimes I do that, and I was tempted to do that on this one, but I wanted to show you that it's okay to not do that. It's okay to have your white edges on your strawberries. Got the foam tape ready because you know the shaker card, we got to do foam tape, and you really want to do a line up here. You see I got the acetate ready to go, but I've lined everything up just to make sure we're good. Now this is how I measure out the acetate. The acetate comes with a protective film on both sides. So right now, while I'm measuring out where I want my acetate to go, I'm going to leave that film on. And here what I suggest is gluing the white panel down first to the craft cardstock. I'm using actually the Tombow glue stick. That's my favorite glue stick. Just because there's not a lot of surface area on this white panel. And if I use liquid glue, I don't want to have a lot of gooshing out the sides. I don't want to have any lumps or bumps. So I'm just using use a really good tack glue stick. And make sure you center that. And also, the glue stick still gives you some time to slide it around if you didn't hit it right the first time. And then if you want, you can let that sit under or something, a book. I'm going to use my acrylic block, my large acrylic block, to sit it there while I cleaned up my workspace, and then I come back to it, and it's nice and sturdy. So now we're going to measure out the acetate. Again, like I said, I've left the protective coating on both sides. I only need enough to cover a little bit past each circle, so I'm going to lay it and mark out where I want to cut down. I'm using just a Sharpie to cut it down. No one will ever see that. Because you don't need a lot of acetate. You just need to make sure that that acetate covers the actual shaker window. And of course, it cuts really good on pretty much any paper cutter. I've never had a problem cutting acetate, even with the protective film on it. And now we've got little scraps of little acetate to make little shaker windows in the future. Those are always fun. Now, you may not even notice that your acetate has those protective layers on it, so I'm going to end up using my craft knife to peel those off. You see I set out my regular tape. I've got my embossing buddy, a little embossing powder there, because we're going to need that. And here we go. You got to just be real careful. If you're going to use an X-Acto knife like this to peel off those protective layers, start in the corner, because no one's going to see the corner if you accidentally scratch it with your knife. And it is on both sides, so just remember that. It comes off real easy once you can get it started. And you can do, some people like to wipe down with some anti-static brush or dryer sheet or something like that to stop the static inside the acetate window. I used to use the powder from my embossing buddy there, but then it would leave a white film that I couldn't get off unless I got it wet, and then it would streak, and it turned into kind of a mess. So I just go, if it sticks, it sticks. I mean, people are going to be shaking it, so it'll come undone. And I'm using the regular tape. That's just regular old cellophane tape, just to tack down that acetate so it doesn't move on me before I put the double-sided foam tape. Just make sure you got everything covered. Let's do another look. I always do. I do so many dry fittings when I'm building cards like this if they require a lot of construction. So now, with your double-sided foam tape, rip off a good section And here's how we're going to double it up so you don't have to waste a lot of space, especially when you're doing a window card like this. If you take your foam tape and fold it together on itself so it sticks together, then you automatically have 2 layers of foam tape instead of laying out one flat layer around and cutting it to fit and going around every corner and you got all these square edges. This is going to make it really easy to have 2 layers all ready to go with the foam tape. And because it's in this long strip, it's going to allow us to wiggle it and move it around how we want it. Give it a final pressing, and then all you have to do is just peel off the paper. Comes off really good. Look at that. And you can see how wiggly it is. Now here's my trick. This is where I take my embossing buddy, and on the folded side, I'm tapping that powder onto the folded side because that folded side is the side that's going to be facing into the window. That's the side that all the shaker bits are going to be bumping up against. So that is where I am putting my powder so that they don't stick to the double-sided tape, foam tape. And that you notice I tap it a few spots and then wipe it with my finger to make sure the powder's all rubbed in there. The top and the bottom of the tape are still sticky. It's just that folded edge that I put that on. And now it's really easy to just stick it down and work all the way around the shape wherever I want it. So much easier than just using this rectangle pieces or square pieces of the foam tape. It goes really good. I don't put a lot, like I go pretty close to the window because I want to keep the concentration of the shaky bits visible. So I like to frame out the window with my foam tape. Then I will end up putting extra tape in the corners to hold up the card. So I almost got it all the way around there for a shot. That was pretty cool. It's like, remember back in the day when your mom or your grandma would teach you how to peel an apple and try to get the peel off all in one swirl? It's kind of like how it is with the foam tape for shaker windows. That's my goal. Go all the way around the cutout shape with one piece. So we'll see. I got pretty close this time. That's cool. I just did the same concept with this little piece. Don't forget your powder. And then just, of course, fill it in. And there we go. Oop. Oh, hey-oh. Little bit long, so I'm just going to trim off a little nub. There we go. I am pulling out my liquid glue because using that embossing powder, there's a good chance that some of it did get onto the sticky surface. So I am going to put liquid glue on there just for added security. I'm not using a lot. I'm just dabbing. If you see how I'm just putting dab, 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 just little dabs of glue here and there. Now, this is where you do have to use like squares of your foam tape to build up the corners because you don't want the card to sag on the corners because it will get smushed, especially if you're mailing it. And it does help give the card stability. You know, so if it gets thrown into a box from the recipient 5 years later, it'll come out and still have its shape. And that one, the corner tapes here, of course, I do have to double up. So we'll just work on sticking that tape in the corners. And of course, make sure they're down really good. Peel off their top layer of paper before you stick the second layer of foam tape down. This goes pretty quick for a shaker card. I'll tell it. You know what? I'll have to say, over the years, it did take me some practice to get into efficient shaker card making. But yeah, I feel like I got down to a pretty good little science here. As fast, got it going as fast as it probably could. Let me know in the comments if what your method is for doing a shaker, and do you like it? Do you not? Is there hopefully what the process that I'm showing you will maybe help you try to do more shaker cards. Maybe this is, you know, some tips that could help you do that. And if it is, I would love to hear your comments about that, of course. All right, now this is how I fill my shaker metal. I put all my little elements on for this card, it's the sentiment. And I'm taking the antique gold sequins and sprinkling those in there because I thought that's going to look so cool with the pink. Probably had a cat hair there, so, you know, let's wipe that off. All right, make sure your strawberries are going in the right direction and just stick that down. Now remember, the craft cardstock is the same size as the front of the card, so I lined it up at the top and pressed it down to the bottom because it's a top folding card. So that's where I started my lineup, and here we go. Check it shaking. Strawberries shaking. We have a strawberry shake. And, of course, we're going to finish it with the pink tourmaline gem sparkles. I love these. They're a 3D sparkle. They stand up, so they're like a little diamond. They are so cool. Oh, so pretty. Like, it's like the perfect range of pinks. There's light mediums and dark pinks on this sheet. And I am, of course, doing the method of 3 here. Using the tip of my craft knife to get those off with, but they stick so good. Those are the best. I love them. And there you are. That is how I created the shaker strawberry card. I hope you guys liked this video. Like I said, if you did, I would love a thumbs up. That would be great. If you want to see more of my videos like this coming soon, make sure you subscribe. Share with your friends. I know shaker cards are kind of a problem for a lot of people, so if this helped you, please let everybody know. I would love to help them out as well. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.